Since this vlog was originally filmed in German, I can really only speak to you over voiceovers. But when we went to Albania the first day, we just spent with the family of a friend, so there wasn't really much to show. But on the second day, we went to the Merusha waterfalls, which was amazing. You basically had to climb like from one part of the waterfalls to the next, and then you would come to these different like bathing spots. It was really, really impressive. It was quite the hike, and I'm very scared of heights, so I couldn't go up all the way, but it was very impressive and definitely worth a trip up there. On our way to Albania in Valbona, we actually stopped by in Jakova, which is a very old town, and it actually has a very preserved old town, so it's really nice to walk through. I think there's a lot more to see, but we didn't have much time. We just stopped over here for lunch, but you should definitely check it out. So this was basically one of the most adventurous parts of our place, of our little vacation there, and it was so much fun. We took this really, really old Mercedes bus that did not even have seatbelts, really close to another waterfall that we were basically chasing, and we're driving through a riverbed here. So in the summer, this riverbed is dry, which is why we can drive through it, and we got really close to the waterfall. We still had to hike up about 45 minutes, but it was such a beautiful hike and definitely worth going up there. It was so much fun. On our way down, we got to see something pretty special. We got to see how Albanians make flea, which is basically a specialty there. And we can see it right here. So basically they take flour and water and then put it in this pan, and then they put the pan on the heat and keep putting more layers of flour and water on top. So in the end, it's like this layered cake of flour and water and salt and fat. And yeah, it may be heart attack inducing, but it was amazing. And we basically used this as a little snack before we rode down to Tirana that day. So it was just awesome. It was so cool to see how it was prepared. In Koya, we visited a museum about Skanderbeg, which is a very important historical figure in Albania, and it was actually kind of good to find out more about this person. Basically, he kept the Osmanians out of Albania, or out of this particular part of Albania. It's kind of difficult to explain. I recommend you just Google him. Skanderbeg is the name, and figure it out for yourself. But all throughout Albania, there are tons of Skanderbeg statues everywhere, and tons of things are named after Skanderbeg. So it was actually kind of good to find out who this person is, just because we were seeing this name everywhere. And this was our lunch. Oh my God, was it good. When we got back to Tirana that afternoon, we looked at some of the highlights there, and one of the highlights was this very old and very beautiful mosque. We actually found out that most Albanians are Muslim, although there is a large Christian population there. I found that interesting. I did not know that, but of course, because the Osmanians came into the country several centuries ago, they brought Islam with them, which is why there is a big Muslim community, but also a big Christian community there. That surprised me, but yeah, beautiful mosque. We also looked at this bunk art museum, and this is a project throughout Albania where they're taking old Cold War bunkers and basically making them into museums and documenting different parts of the history of Albania. This particular one was about police and like the history of the police in Albania, and it was a very rough topic, so I really don't want to talk much more about it in this vlog, but if you're ever in Tirana, this is actually very, very interesting and a very big deep dive into the history of Albania. So Bellini Park was a really special place that we visited, and basically this is a river in the mountains. So we had to take a boat along the river through the mountains for I think 1.5 or 2 hours to get to this really secluded location in the Albanian mountains, and it was on this beautiful river. There was a little park there, a hotel they called themselves, but it was more like camping if we're going to be honest here. But it was just beautiful. The water was extremely blue. It was ice cold though. You really couldn't stay in the water for very long, but we had so much fun just enjoying the nature and walking around looking at everything. This was a really special place to visit. Apollonia was without a doubt one of my favorite parts of this trip, but we're going to see another similar thing in just a minute, so I'm not going to say much about it. But essentially, the Greeks were first in Albania, and then came the Romans, and then came the Byzantine era, and you could just see all of these different architectures in all of these places. It was just so cool. So like I promised, we're seeing another excavation here. Well, we're seeing me walking through the excavation, but there you go. So this is a larger excavation. This was in Butrint, and this was just completely impressive. So this was so well held up. And we can see the Greek and the Roman influence here, more of the Roman influence than the Greek though. But you could just see all of these different eras and different buildings, and they could figure out what these buildings are. But you could still see the Byzantine era, especially with this church here, because Byzantine era was of course Christian. So they brought Christianity with them with this church that was over 2,000 years old. I mean, how mind-boggling is that? And they still had complete mosaics that were totally fine. Just look at that. So I just boggled my mind, seriously. This was so cool. Yeah, so we're basically almost at the end of our Albania trip already because the last few days I just enjoyed with the group. We were a group of 8 people and everyone was so nice, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed traveling. I thought I wouldn't enjoy traveling with a bigger group, but I actually really did. So yeah, the last 2 days or 3 days of the trip we just kind of stuck together. But yeah, Albania was such a surprise. I did not expect it to be the way it was. There were just so many different things to look at. I mean, we have excavations on the one hand and then we have mosques on the other, and the vegetation was just completely different. So definitely a very interesting country to visit, and I hope you get to soon. Yeah, like and subscribe if you liked it. Oh God. Okay, Beine anwinkeln. Have I mentioned that I'm scared of heights? That's not helping! Wait, I'm still preparing myself for this. Oh my God. Okay, I'm still trying. Okay. 3, 2, 1.